Welcome to the lesson on slopes and intercept. In this lesson, you will learn how to find the slope of a line given 2 points, and then understand the relationship between the slope and the y-intercept of a line and its equation, and then find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. To find the slope of a line containing 2 points, x sub 1 and x sub 1 y sub 1 and x sub 2 y sub 2 is given by the formula here, m equal to the change in y over the change in x. So we denote the slope as m, and it is defined as the change in y over the change in x. That is the difference in the y coordinates divided by the difference in the x coordinates. Or sometimes it would be easier to remember it as rise over run. So to illustrate this, let us consider the following example. With the given points here, -4, 3, and 2, -6, we will call this number here as our x sub 1 and the number here as our y sub 1. And this number here will be your x sub 2 and the number here is y sub 2. Now remember, the formula for the slope is the change in y, the difference in the y coordinates over the change in x or the difference in the x coordinates. So our slope for the line containing the given points here will be equal to, just subtract -6 and 3, so -6 minus 3 divided by the difference in the x coordinates, so that is 2 minus -4. Simplifying this, -6 minus 3 is equal to -9, and the denominator 2 minus -4 is equal to +6. So that gives us a slope which is equal to -9 over 6, which you can simplify as -3 over 2. Another example, find the slope of a line through the points -6, -3, and -8, -7. Now, using the formula for the slope, which is given by m is equal to the change in y, so that would be y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over the change in x sub 2 minus x sub 1. This first point here will be your x sub 1, and this will be your x sub 2, so that's in the denominator. And this second coordinate here would be your y sub 1. So if this is your x sub 1, this would be your y sub 1, and this is your x sub 2, y sub 2. So plugging into your formula, y sub 2 is -7 minus y sub 1, which is -3, divided by x sub 2, which is -8, minus x sub 1, which is -6. So simplifying this, the numerator, -7 minus -3, the negative becomes positive, so -7 plus 3 divided by the denominator, -8, and then the double negatives here becomes positive, so plus 6. So -7 plus 3 is equal to -4 divided by the denominator, -8 plus 6 is equal to -2. So negative divided by negative is positive. -4 divided by -2 is +2. Therefore, we say that the slope of a line through the points -6, -3, and -8, -7 is equal to 2. Now let us discuss the slope and the y-intercept of a line and its equation. The most familiar form of a linear equation is the slope-intercept form, and it is written as y equals mx plus b, where m here is the slope and the b here is the y-intercept. So if you are given a linear equation, all you need to do is write it in this form here, y equals mx plus b. And the coefficient of x is your slope, and the number here will be the y-intercept. So for instance, in the given example here, y is equal to negative 4x, negative 3 over 4x minus 4. The coefficient of x, this number here, will be the slope of the line, and that is m is equal to negative 3/4. And the number here, including the sign, is the y-intercept. So b is equal to negative 4. The y-intercept is the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. And on the y-axis, x is equal to 0. So in other words, if you want to find the y-intercept given the equation of a line, you can also just set x to be equal to 0. So if x here is equal to 0, then this term here becomes 0. So the y is equal to negative 4. That gives you the y-intercept. So for example, what is the slope and the y-intercept for the given equation here? This equation is already written in y equals mx plus b form. So this equation was already written in the form y equal to mx plus b. So therefore, the coefficient of your x here, this number here, 2 over 3, is the slope. So m is equal to 2/3. And the number here is your b, and that is the y-intercept. So b is equal to 4. Another one, the equation y equal to 4/5 x plus 3. What is the slope and the y-intercept? Again, the coefficient for your x, this number here, will be the slope. And the number here is the y-intercept. So you could actually get the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0 and then solving for y. Now to determine the x-intercept, this is similar to also finding the y-intercept. So we've discussed that to find the y-intercept, we will just set x to be equal to 0. So therefore, to determine the x-intercept, all you need to do is just set y to be equal to 0 and then solve for x. The x-intercept is actually the intersection at the x-axis. So when the graph crosses the x-axis or on the x-axis, y there is equal to 0, or the y-coordinate is 0. So again, to get the x-intercept, you just set y equal to 0 and then solve for x. For example, find the x-intercept of the given equation. To solve for the x-intercept, all you need to do is set y equal to 0. So this left-hand side here is equal to 0. And then you solve for x. So you have the equation 0 is equal to negative 9x minus 6. And then adding both sides, positive 6 to isolate x, you have 6 equal to negative 9x. And then divide both sides of this equation by negative 9. You have negative 6 over 9 is equal to negative 2/3. When you simplify negative 6 over 9, that is equal to negative 2/3, and that is your x. So the x-intercept, the x-coordinate is negative 2/3. And then the ordered pair that represents your x-intercept is negative 2/3, 0. The y-coordinate is 0.